What's going on, freedom fighters? Welcome back to another Break the Chains Media on We Are Change Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, December the 10th, 2025, and I'm your host, Corey. We've got some fun things, some hopeful, we've got some good-looking things on the horizon. We're coming out of this. We are in the thick of winter, but looking forward to the spring, looking forward to the summer. We do have some hopeful endeavors for the agriculture field, in the agricultural world, across the country. $700 million was just approved through the USDA to perform regenerative agriculture. And regenerative agriculture is a good thing overall. I think that is the future of agriculture. However, reading through what I was going over earlier just a minute ago, there are some very important issues that were being skimmed over because of some, we'll call them backdoor deals, some shady interest negotiations that were going on as far as using pesticides and forever chemicals. And that's not what regenerative agriculture is, folks. We are going to get into all of that. Shout out to Mike for giving me that opportunity to look into that. So thank you for that. And then we're also going to talk about the declining school enrollment here in Colorado. Across the state, school enrollment has been on the decline. Apparently this year is the lowest turnout for school enrollment. And it goes into, there's many different reasons why children are no longer being enrolled in public schools. Children no longer are being institutionalized by the government indoctrination systems. And there's a multitude of reasons, and we are going to get into that. And we're going to go over some of the posts I made. Kind of a little clickbaity, but the point still remains. Bad state legislation, bad state management, and how the state manages the future prospects of the school system, of just overall state and pro-family mindset. If the state's not promoting a pro-family mindset or a pro-family future, you're gonna see a decline in the school enrollment. So we're gonna get into all that. We've got some other stuff to talk about. The new homelessness group that just basically paid itself, $250,000 or more salary and buying first class flights. So we're gonna get into all this. I mean, this is the typical leftist, angle. They like to squander the money while they're claiming it's all for good purposes and good causes. So we are gonna get into all that. But if this is the first time following Break the Chains Media, joining me on this live stream, hit that thumbs up button, share the video with your friends and family, be a part of the chain gang, be a part of the chain breaker movement, because that's what we need. We need to bring out more information. We need to promote this far and wide across the country, but particularly friends and family in Colorado, because I focus a lot about Colorado issues, Colorado values, things that are happening in the four corners of our great state, of the Mile High City, of the Centennial State. That is what I try to do, and I bring in national issues that hit close to home. So if you are interested in that, like I said, hit that follow button, share this video. I'm on Rumble, I'm on X, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on all the places. But you can actually find the landing page here at Realm Walker Hot Sauce. Wait, excuse me. You actually can find the landing page here, breakthechains.media. That is the website. Realm Walker Hot Sauce, that's what I opened up with accidentally. But Realm Walker Hot Sauce is if I can actually click on it, Realm Walker Hot Sauce is the hot sauce for you. Travel the 9 realms of Norse mythology through hot sauce. Be a warrior of the 9 realms. Become the Realm Walker. You can pick up your own handmade, homemade bottle of hot sauce. I make it myself. If you're looking for a Christmas gift, if you want to support a local business, if you want to support Break the Chains Media, reach out to me or follow Realm Walker Hot Sauce on Instagram. You can message any of those to get yourself a bottle of hot sauce. Right now, I've got a jalapeno, tomatillo, cilantro, lime in the works. Midgard is in the works. Serrano, tomatillo, lime. I also have my favorite, Muspelheim, which is red super hot peppers and roasted red peppers. If you like a serious burning hot sauce, it's got a really good heat, classic buffalo style flavor. If you do want that, I recommend that. And you also have Ragnarok, which is smoked chocolate super hot peppers, apocalypse peppers, and green chili. So it's like a chipotle but so it's got that smoky and it's got that heat, but it's actually much spicier than the Tabasco brand Chipotle. But we are moving right on, and then you can't forget, you gotta always rev up them chainsaws. Rev up them chainsaws. There we go. Rev them up, because it's the chainsaw caucus coming in to cut the bureaucracy, cut the bloat, cut the federal mismanagement, cut the state-funded bureaucracies, cut all of the funding and all of this mismanaged appropriated funds that extort money from you. If you want to support a nationwide recognized 527 PAC, the Chainsaw Caucus is inspired by the Afuera movement from Javier Milei out of Argentina. And in the link in the description right below this live stream, there is a link that goes directly to my affiliate link. Click on that, support Chainsaw Caucus for $10 a month, or whatever you feel like, because you can do multiple different things. But $10 a month isn't that much, and you could support Chainsaw Caucus as well as Break the Chains Media, our efforts to hold our politicians and hold our elected officials accountable to make sure that your money and your funding goes into the right places. So, without further ado, we are going to be jumping right into it. Let me make sure that everything is on the up and up here on the other side. Your funding goes. Yes, we are looking good. We are looking good. All right. Anyways, here we fucking go. All right. So, where we at? I wanted to start with. I've got a couple different things cooking up today. Really quick, we're just doing a timeline cleanse. We're cleaning out. We're moving through it. But I don't know if you guys have been following the whole Tim Pool fiasco and his heightened security and his worry about trying to relocate or possibly closing down his stuff. And Tim's obviously working with Rumble Studios, but this isn't a isolated incident. It's happened for a long time with Tim and other right-leaning, quote-unquote, right-leaning or independent content creators, this escalation of security threat and security risk. So I postulated, I said, hey, listening to his live stream, someone else brought it up about using a penthouse and talking about doing some sort of thing with Rumble Studios. So I said, hey, I'll make a grok video about Rumble Studios as a penthouse, using it as a studio. So I thought it was pretty cool. I thought it was a nice idea. It's a pretty smart idea to do this. And obviously it's just AI, but it looks cool, right? I mean, like, let's see if I can pause it there at the studio. You got green screens. You got cameras, green screens, computers, all that stuff, right? I just thought it was kind of cool. I shouted out to Tim and Chris Pavlovsky. Actually, Chris himself checked it out and gave me the googly eyes, right? So maybe I'm starting something, spurring something in the on the interwebs there. I thought that was kind of cool. And then I also did. If you haven't seen it, I officially released it, or I officially used it as my intro to my live stream. I guess it wasn't really my intro; it was more like my waiting room video. But I wanted to show this with y'all, share this with y'all, and let me see your thoughts on what you think about this video I made. It's a totally AI generated video, but I did make the audio. I did make the soundtrack myself. So let's play this and let's see. Can I make it larger? Not really, huh? Can't really make it larger without cutting out the side. It's fine. Actually, maybe I can do this. Hold, please. Hold, please. Yeah, this will work. All right, cool. I think you can still hear me, but it's just the desktop. So I'm going to play this and let me know what y'all think, okay? Because I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. So that is an intro that I made using Grok's Imagine. I've got 4 or 5 other different themed intros that I wanted to do. This one was like, I called it like the Warlock of the West. I called it it's like a little bit more fantasy mystery. But I've got a cyberpunk intro that I'm working on. I've got a robot technocratic future that I'm working on. I've got some like a Mad Max themed one that I'm working on. So I've got like 4 or 5 different versions, different variations of an opening credit or an opening intro. Still trying to figure out the best place to put it though, because right now the only place I can use it is for like the waiting room music, because I don't want to use a minute and a half video as like the intro to a movie, right? I kind of want it to have it be a little bit standalone. I don't want it to hold people up. You know, it's a minute and a half, and a minute and a half is like an eternity for someone who's waiting for the news and waiting for information. I say that in jest. I joke lightly, but yeah. We dude, honestly, we could do cyberpunk, we could do steampunk, we can do Nordic punk. Like I'm spitballing. So if you guys have any ideas on what kind of like alternate reality future that I can make in reference to a main subject going through a themed scenario into a breaking of a large chain, like that's the whole concept. So anything that we do at the end of the day, it's going to be some guy or a group of people or some identity trying to break the chains, right? That's kind of my whole MO with that. So hope you like it. Let me know if you guys have any other thoughts. You can find that on the X feed here. But let's get into this is a quick story, and then we're going to jump into the USDA news. But so this is from the Colorado Republican Party. This is from the Colorado Republican Party. Denver's next homelessness contractor files first class. Let's see here. Denver's next homelessness contractor flies first class and pays its CEO $370,000. This is from the Denverite. So, Denver's next homelessness contractor flies first class and pays its CEO $370,000. Urban Alchemy is the newest big dog in Denver's nonprofit world, and Urban Alchemy has actually had a little bit of controversy. There's been a little bit of controversy as far as its altruistic natures and its tendencies, right? So long story short, and if you're not familiar with how NGOs work, it's essentially a backdoor deal for government officials to work with nonprofits to then funnel and cycle in backdoor finances through ulterior means, claiming it's for good purposes, claiming they're for, saving the puppies or sheltering homeless or feeding migrant children or whatever, you name it. There's an NGO for it. But these politicians ride these NGOs and play these NGOs and pass legislation that favors said NGOs. So, Denver City Council approved $33 million in contract with homelessness service provider Urban Alchemy, a San Francisco-based nonprofit whose founding CEO, Lena Miller, has flown first class and made $369,000 plus another $5,000 in other earnings, according to its most recent tax filings. Miller makes $10,000 more than the leader of the much larger coalition for... Miller makes $10,000 more than the leader of the much larger Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, making her among the very highest paid CEOs for Denver homelessness providers. The council on Monday approved 2 contracts with Urban Alchemy, one to run the Aspen Homeless Shelter and another to provide community ambassador services. Pause this. Why the fuck is there a homeless population in Aspen, Colorado? If the Aspen Homeless Shelter is in fact in Aspen, I mean, I guess maybe it's a smart play. These homeless people are out begging these multimillionaires that live up in the fucking mountains. So maybe they're getting, T-bone steaks and tomahawk ribeyes and all tomahawks and all these things, right? Maybe the homelessness are actually getting fed getting treated like kings up there. Maybe it's a smart play, Just Mike 75. All NGOs are corrupt. Most charities are also. 100% agree. Melindy does as well. Yes, this is their play, and this is actually one of the main components on how the blueprint took place here in Colorado, how the Gang of Four instituted their authoritarian regime change in the early 2000s. They networked with NGOs, they networked with unions, they networked with charities, they networked with all of these different aspects of Colorado to institute their fundamental political lean shift to the left. Aspen was previously run by the Salvation Army, which paid its regional leader only about $30,000. Other staffers in the charity make more. It's akin to taking a poverty it's akin to taking a poverty vow, said Salvation Army spokesperson Jim Forker. 9 executives at Urban Alchemy were making more than $150,000 a year, according to the 2024 filing, while the nonprofit Denver's practitioner will be starting at $21 an hour, according to job postings. Urban Alchemy is one of the many national nonprofits that grew fast as cities spent big on addressing homelessness after the pandemic when encampments spread across the country. It has also paid for luxury travel expenses. The organization has paid for the CEO to travel first class when necessary for logistics and business purposes. Of course it did. Of course it did. Yeah. Meanwhile, the organization employed drivers for car-based travel to LA and Portland, allow the executive team to work while on the road. None of the sample of other nonprofits disclosed first-class flights or hiring drivers. Urban Alchemy, the history of Urban Alchemy. I do have an article from the Denver Post tying in with this. Very, very strange how Urban Alchemy just kind of popped up, and it's now one of the biggest, the leading homelessness supporter nonprofits in Colorado. Denver okays $30 million contract with nonprofit despite questions about agency. Austin, Texas severed its relationships with the group earlier this year over data concerns. Huh, you don't say. Interesting. It's almost like, there's a track record here, right? A nonprofit that has raised flags for other cities will begin operating in one of Denver's homelessness shelters after the city council approved a $30 million contract with the group on Monday. Urban Alchemy, a San Francisco-based nonprofit, has been accused of fiscal and data mismanagement, leading one city to drop the organization as a partner this year. 9 of the 13 city council members ultimately voted to approve the contract after over an hour of discussion on those concerns, in which council members also expressed their exasperation with Mayor Mike Johnston's office. Quote, the other options appear to be putting people back out on the streets in the middle of winter, said Councilwoman Amanda Sawyer in explaining her yes vote. Wait, the other option, so she's voting yes because, I guess they'll just have to be homeless on the street in winter. Well, tough shit, sorry. Most of these homeless people choose to be homeless. They elect living on the streets. They would rather live on the streets and panhandle and get handouts, direct handouts, whether it's money, food, drugs, booze, you name it, they're out there doing it. And don't get me wrong, folks, Denver and the city of Colorado has skyrocketed the cost of living. So it is tough out there, folks. So while there is a large majority of homelessness that do choose to live this lifestyle, I would say a fraction of a percentage are reluctantly homeless, right? Jeff Kozitsky, the deputy director of shelter and stability in the Denver's Department of Housing and Stability, said during the meeting that this council rejected the contract. There would be no way to find a provider by the time a contract with the Aspen Shelter's current operator, the Salvation Army, expired. So they basically approved it because they had no other option. So, shucks, I guess we got to approve it. This literally sounds like a game that they play guess we got to go with the biggest, most controversial homeless shelter provider NGO in the country. Whoopsies. Do you see what I'm saying? Something doesn't smell right down in Denver. And it's not just the weed. You know what I'm saying? It's not just the weed. Gandalf, what do you got to say to that?
You shall not pass!
It is pretty ridiculous. Urban Alchemy will begin operating the 289-unit Aspen shelter in Central Park in 2026, and the contract will last through 2028. So, yeah, I guess Aspen Shelter is just the name. It's not physically in the city of Aspen. So, correction on the record. It's not actually in Aspen. It's just named Aspen Shelter. So, excuse me. Denver officials announced in August that the Salvation Army would no longer operate 3 facilities, blah, blah, blah. In San Francisco, let's see. Because I want to get into the discrepancy of Urban Alchemy. In San Francisco, the city's controller office accused Urban Alchemy of not properly tracking the time its employees worked for the city, causing an increased risk to public funds and client services, according to San Francisco's Chronicle. The Comptroller Office later ruled that the group was backed in compliance with the city standards. Go figure. It goes to show you this is how they cook the books. It's essentially it's classic cooking the books, digital cooking the books. We're seeing this far too often. This is happening far too often in too many places. So it is interesting that this person, paid its way so quick, so fast, right? Denver City Council will be voting Monday night on a $3 million contract with the organization to provide, quote, community ambassador services, like offering referrals to unhoused residents and giving direction to Coors Fields to Rockies fans. Brilliant. I'm sick of these liberal linguistic bullshit. Unhoused residents. They're called homeless. That's what they are. They're homeless people. They're vagrants. They're migrants. They're living on the streets. They are not unhoused residents. Get it right. Stop with this Marxist agenda, this wordplay that they do. They twist the narrative. They play emotive responses to make sure that the language is more palatable to the emotive, right? That is what they do. That is their agenda. That is how they play it. The shift towards the San Francisco provider comes after long-term city partner, the Salvation Army, lost some of its shelter contracts with the city. Several city council members asked for smaller local groups to have a chance to win government contracts within the city. And yet, they just approved a $30 million contract with an out-of-state nonprofit organization to help the homeless, while this company pays its CEO $370,000 a year. It's such a shame they got put between a rock and a hard place, and they had no other option but to give this large company that's an out-of-state company the $30 million state government contract. What a shame, right? It's pathetic. The level that they try to play this, the level that they try to pull the wool over your eyes to make it sound like it's not their, it's totally not their fault that they picked this company, but yet this company is embroiled in controversy. Spare me. Yep. Yeah, so there's that. That's a quick little. You probably got this in the mail. So, this is I don't know if you can read that, but why claim a heat pump rebate? Talking about the heat pumps, okay? This is all propaganda on talking about the heat pumps. Right? And it says, what is a heat pump? A heat pump is a 2-in-1 system that heats your home in the winter and cools it in the summer. Instead of burning fuel to generate heat, it uses electricity to transfer warmth into your home. In the warmer months, it works like an air conditioner. In the cooling months, by moving heat out. And for a limited time, we're offering bonus rebates for heat pump upgrades. This all ties back in with their green energy and their natural gas removal in Colorado. And this is actually something I got in the email myself. It's from Excel. You can look it up, but it's myxlenergy.com. Colorado electric rate review. Customer notice. Important notice about your electric service and pricing. Let's get into it here. Colorado electric rate review customer notice. Important notice about your electric services and pricing. Over the past 3 years, we've made significant investments into upgrading and modernizing the electric system power in the state's growing economy, preventing outages and deliver cleaner energy and protect the grid against extreme weather and other threats. On November 21st, 2025, we made a proposal to the Colorado Public Utilities Commission to adjust electric rates to fund these critical investments. If rates are approved as filed, the average resident customer can expect their monthly electric bill to increase by about 9.9%, 10%, or $10 starting August 2026. The average small business customer will see an increase of about 9.5%, or about $14 a month. Okay? And then it talks about all the benefits, reduced power outages, clean energy options, expanding capacity, safer and security, low-cost renewable energy. We can add more low-cost renewable energy to our system and pass on those savings directly to you. Since 2017, our wind farms have saved Colorado customers more than $1 billion in avoided fuel costs and tax credits. And yet they're raising our rates. Interesting how that works. They're on one side of the mouth, they're saving us money, claiming to be saving us money. And in the other side, they're saying, you need to pay more. Make it make sense, folks. Oh, and then this one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. A safety net, consumers and facing financial hardship, like increased bill assistance, new pathways to enrollment. Are they going to enroll residents that use Excel into some form of consumer-based subsidy program where we pay an additional fee to offset those that can't pay their fees? Folks, look out for it because it's happening in other states nationwide. It's happening in Connecticut. It's happening in Massachusetts. It's happening in other places. They are subsidizing energy users to pay those who cannot afford it. And they're calling it a contribution or affordability programs, folks. Be aware because they're trying to shove it down our throats here, and I ain't having it. Okay? Keep an eye out for these too. Keep an eye out for this. This is that XL Energy fuel pump. What is a heat pump? Keep an eye out for this in your mail because it is coming to a mailbox near you. Okay? Talking about all the benefits of a heating and cooling pump. Oh my gosh, look at how happy that family is, folks. That family is happy and enjoying their electric government instituted heat pump at an exorbitant price. They're loving it. They are loving it. So keep an eye out for that in your email, or keep an eye out for that in your mailbox, folks, because it is coming. It is coming. All right, let's keep going. We got this. We're getting into it now. Now we're talking about energy. We're going to shift right into the USDA. Okay, that's what we are going to be talking about. Where are we at here? DOJ, this is that. Okay, great. We're going to move that right over here. Sorry, there's just so much going on my. All right, let's do that. You know what? Let's do this. Okay. Here we go. Stock photo from Georgia. Most likely, probably, right? Folks, smash that like button. I keep saying it, but retweet this, share this video, send this out to your friends and family because this is the kind of information that we need to get out. It's not being talked about because this is the thing. This is the agenda, right? And I was having a conversation with my son about this, is that politics moves so fast that we tend to forget what we talked about 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago, and this creeping frog in the pot, goldfish memory type. I don't know the analogy, but we get so we get so much tunnel vision when it comes to specific government politics and policies. We get wrapped up around the axle about certain things. We lose sight of the forest for the trees, right? And when we start talking about things that aren't being talked about, I think those are the things that are more important to address, because obviously there's so much political division talking about political infighting on the right, political infighting on the left. We got conspiracy theory, Oprah Winfrey, Candace Owens coming out here with all kinds of her crazy shit. She's still bitching about Charlie Kirk and chicks with dicks, all this kind of crazy stuff. Okay, but we lose sight of our agenda. We lose sight of our goals. And we have to make sure that our platform and our policies are staying true to our values. So if you stand for limited government, maximum liberty, holding government accountable, shifting the narrative to healthy, sustainable future for our children and for the rest of our lives, this is what we need to talk about, folks. And thank you, Just Mike 75. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak about this, because this is actually a super interesting read, and it came out today. So it is bleeding edge news. We are on the bleeding edge of the information war. Hold on. Why am I talking like Trump? I should be talking like Alex Jones. Folks, we are on the line. We are on the front lines of the information war. We are on the battlefield of the war for your mind. And the USDA has launched new regenerative pilot program to lower the farmer production cost and advance the MAHA movement. Isn't that what you folks would like to see in our future, in our world, in our beautiful, green, glorious, non-chemical turning frogs gay world? That is what we want to see. All right, folks, I'll tone it back. I'll tone it down. I'm a little passionate. I'm a little animated. I drank a lot of coffee today, okay? But yes, so remember do you all remember when Donald, wow, hold on. I keep stumbling. I keep stammering. Do you folks remember when all that drama came out with Alex Jones talking about chemicals in the water turning the frogs gay? You guys remember that, right? They're putting chemicals in the water to turn the frogs gay. And everyone lost their minds because he was talking about atrazine in the water that was running off of farm land and going into the natural reservations and chemically altering the amphibians in these runoff streams and valleys. Okay? It's a real thing. Atrazine is a real chemical, and that is a problematic forever chemical. Okay? And the USDA has launched a new regenerative pilot program to lower farmer production costs and advance the MAHA agenda. And I think overall, if it's done right, this can be a successful endeavor. This is actually a good thing, okay? So let's read into it. Today, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, alongside U.S. Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Centers for Medical and Medicaid Services, Mehmet Oz, announced a $700 million regenerative pilot program to help American farmers adopt practices that improve soil health and enhance water quality, boost long-term productivity, all while strengthening America's food and fiber supply. Building off the Make Our America Healthy Again strategy released in September, the Department of Health and Human Services also investing in research to connection between regenerative agriculture and public health, as well as developing public health messaging, explains this connection. Protecting and improving the health of our soil is critical not only for the future viability of the farmland, but to the future success of American farmers. In order to continue to be the most productive and efficient growers in the world, we must protect our topsoil from unnecessary erosion and improve soil health and land stewardship. Today's announcement encourages these priorities while supporting farmers who choose to transition to regenerative agriculture. The Regenerative Pilot Program also puts farmers firsthand and reduces the barriers for entry for conservation programs. This is another initiative driven by President Trump's mission to make America healthy again. Along with Secretary Kennedy, we have made great strides to ensure the safe, nutritious, and affordable food our great farmers produce and make dinner tables across the country. I think this is a very well-rounded plan when you read it from this website, okay? Talking about protecting soil, excuse me. Talking about protecting soil and reducing production costs, okay? What do we got here? Your Delta Talcai name is Tweak. Technically, atrazine was making them trans, but yes, we know what we're talking. Seth, we know. It's not making them. It is not making the frogs homosexual. It is turning them hermaphroditic. It is creating high levels of hormones in the water that creates amphibians to mutate into a hermaphroditic state, right? So semantics, but see, this is that captivating angle of the art of the intent of words, right? And trying to make a point that everyone can understand. And actually, it actually ties very well into my last segment of the day, talking about the schools and talking about school education system and how I tied in the abortion law that was codified into Colorado into the the lower turnout of the school system. But we're going to get into that later. But we're going to keep going with this one here. Protecting soil and reducing production costs. In response to the Dust Bowl in the 1930s, Congress created the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service to help people and the land improve conservation of the nation's soil and water resources. This action led to improved soil health and natural resource management, which in turn has led to increased productivity. Between 1948 and 2021, the total U.S. farm production increased 190%, while the total farm inputs, such as land, labor, and water, decreased 2% in the same period. However, the current conservation programs of the USDA has overly become burdensome, and farmers are bogged down with red tape whenever they try to adopt soil and health regenerative agricultural practices. Even with the improved soil health since the creation of NRCS, USDA data shows that farmers recently reported that 25% of the acres had water-driven erosion concerns, and 16% of acres had wind-driven erosion concerns. So this is a good avenue. The regenerative farming is great, and I encourage everyone on a small scale to be doing their own regenerative farming styles. Get your backyard, get some raised garden beds, or even, you can stack, you can grow vertically in your garden. There's many ways to pair planting and to do cohabitation of plants that synergize together, and you can do year-round cycles. There's so many different things you can do to make sure that you yourself are the prime supplier of your food. And that is one of the things I learned during COVID, is that if we're relying on a global supplied food chain and we have another global crisis as we had during COVID, we are going to have a much more difficult time keeping us fed. So if you grow your own food, if you're in charge of your own nutrition, if you're in charge of getting your own food on the daily in a local community-driven program, that is the real solution. So while I do believe this is a good step forward, and we are going to get into the cons, we are going to get into the bad aspects of this bill in just a second, because it's not all rainbows, fairies, and butterflies. It's not all green fields of whey, right? It's golden fields of whey, right? Whatever the fuck it is. I guess it's first green and then it turns gold when it's ready to harvest. But fuck, let's get into it. But just Mike, I went into the USDA in August to check on programs. When I said regenerative, the guy walked away. And see, that's the thing, is that I feel that when you use the word regenerative, it sounds like a liberal buzzword. It sounds like a leftist buzzword. But this is a good path forward, right? And you know what's great about this program is that it's voluntary. Farmers that work in American farm fields, farmers that work in the farmland of America, these American farmers are able to voluntarily join this pilot program that works with the USDA. Okay? So it's not forced upon you. It is not, and that is the biggest green flag about this bill, is that it is not a requirement from the government to force farmers to do a thing. It is incentivizing healthy and manageable and sustainable practices within regenerative farming agriculture to foster an environment that is overall in the long term beneficial to the fertile soil that is the Midwest, that is the main breadbasket of America, right? If the breadbasket of America was actually able to shift into a regenerative farming practices to allow for our American farmers to produce American food for Americans, think about how fundamentally beneficial that would be to the course of the next generation, right? Right now, a majority of our farmland is ran by Bill Gates, is ran by private interests, they're stripping the soil, they're stripping nutrients away by growing soybeans and growing corn. And most of the corn that we grow in America, just to be clear, most of the corn that we grow in America is not for American consumption. It's for feedlots for animals. We grow corn in America primarily to feed cows, goats, pigs, livestock, and to create corn syrup. to create synthetic corn syrups that are fillers for all of the stuff you get in your grocery store, all of your condiments, and all of these items that have high fructose corn syrup. A majority of our farmland is growing corn to supply into this chemical-laden system that is anti-Maha, that is anti-making America healthy again. So we have to shift how our farmers grow the crops, right? The sad thing is that a lot of the time, farmers get subsidies. Farmers get government payouts to either keep fields fallow or to grow certain crops, i.e. soybean and corn. So when government incentivizes farmers on a fixed income or on a very meager income, the government comes in and says, we'll give you a couple $1 million to make sure your field don't grow or to make sure that you grow soybeans for the next 5 years. That is how our breadbasket in America has been eroded away generation over generation. So with regenerative agriculture, we can see a potential turnaround to adding more nutrients back into the soil and allowing a crop cycle of rotation of diverse food and crops, hopefully spurring a more diverse and more nutrient dense food and soil that allows for these plants to grow more productively. That is the goal, right? And you're absolutely right, Melindy. I can't stress it enough. We gotta make sure that we're supporting our local farmers, our local ranchers. If you don't support locally, then I guess by default you're supporting globalism. And I ain't about globalism. If y'all know anything about me, I ain't about globalism, right? What do you gotta say to globalism, Gandalf?
You shall not pass!
Exactly. Just Mike 75 says Canada owns more U.S. farmland than China, Gates, and Bezos combined. Agreed. And that's and sadly we're behind the eight ball when it comes to proper agricultural practices, right? And the fact that a majority of our farmland here in America has been taken out from under us. We've been kneecapped on a global scale when it comes to the breadbasket here in America. That is one of the big problems. Public and private partnerships. There's a growing desire among private companies to fund conservation practices that improve natural resource management. This announcement unlocks new opportunities for the USDA to leverage existing authorities to create public-private partnerships within the NRCS conservation programs. These partnerships will allow the USDA to match private funding, in turn, stretching taxpayer dollars further and bringing new capacity to producers interested in adopting regenerative practices. Let's go with that. Dude, the Tamale Act is great. That's a great avenue and how we help and how we promote and how we work with local companies, right? And now we're going to get into the other side of this, right? And this comes from Common Dreams. I'm just going to show you right here. What I did is I punched in that link to Grok, and it gave me a really good breakdown. It gave me a really good understanding, the program details, goals and benefits, the connections, quotes. Wait, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? That's not what I wanted at all. Okay. So I'm gonna read the key issues here, and I'm gonna read you the takeaways, and we're gonna go into the negatives, right? Supporters argue that it advances sustainability and health. Farm Action notes potential resilient, profitable farming systems by reducing overproduction and chemical dependency. Focusing on soil, water, and habitat aligning with wildlife conservations are a plus. And then it talks about nutrient-dense food, microbiomes in the soil. All these are good things. Positioning, and then on top of that, like I said, the biggest thing is positioning this as a voluntary incentives for efficiency. Okay. But now we're going to talk about the negatives, and I brought up this commondreams.org website. This is a leftist publication, right? This is a leftist website without a doubt. Just because I'll click on this, and you can see that it's immediately. Where was it? What did I see that made me scream that screamed. Oh, yeah, that's it. Okay, so the reason why I'm going to make a educated guess that this is a leftist website or a leftist leaning website is that it does not have an X link. It has a Blue Sky link. Okay? So it has a Blue Sky link, Instagram, and whatever this is. I don't know. But that just made me assume that it's kind of a left-leaning thing. But let's read. Skeptics warned of greenwashing as Trump admin launches regenerative agriculture pilot. One campaigner emphasized that the administration, quote, continues to cut conservation staff, support the pesticide industry, roll back environmental laws, and play trade war games. Okay? We are going to find out what greenwashing is, Melindy, right here, right now. So I can read that. Make America Healthy Again talks about regenerative. Does everyone know what regenerative agriculture is? Do I have to read that? I think we all understand what regenerative agriculture is. Let's see. Angela Huffman, president and co-founder of the group Farm Action, a longtime advocate of regenerative farming, welcomed the pilot, noting that done right, this investment will help farmers lower their input costs, break free from the export-driven commodity overproduction treadmill, and move forward together, more resilient and more profitable farming systems. Sounds great. Stephanie Fieldstein, Population and Sustainability Director at the Center for Biological Diversity, was far more critical of the initiative, warning that farmers trying to do the right thing for our environment need all the support they can get, but without clear standards, this ill-defined pilot isn't enough. And I do tend to agree with that because there are some glaring vulnerabilities. There are some loopholes. There are some gaps in this pilot program, and we're going to get into it right now. Regenerative agriculture needs to be more than just buzzwords. Big Ag uses greenwash business as usual, said Feldstein. While the Trump administration promises money for sustainable practices, it continues to cut off conservation staff, support the pesticide industry, and roll back environmental laws, and play trade war games that hurt farmers and our food system. The USDA Regenerative Agriculture Pilot Programs flows from a Make America Healthy Again Commission report in 120 initiatives. Okay, I don't need to read that. Let's see. Let's keep going down. We're going down. So the administration has also come under fire for constantly serving the fossil fuel industry, installing ex-lobbyist Kyle Clunker. That's a real name. Kyle Kunckler. That's a fucking unfortunate name. I am sorry, Kyle. Jesus Christ. Kunckler in a key role at the Environmental Protection Agency and nominating another, Douglas Troutman, for an EPA post. Embracing herbicides, including atrazine and dicamba, as well as forever chemical pesticides, and urging the U.S. Supreme Court to shield Bayer, which bought Monsanto, from lawsuits alleging that glyphosate-based Roundup causes cancer. What's your small idea, Mike? What is your small idea? I'd like to hear it. So this is the big red flag. This is the problem, and I had the same kind of problems when we looked at the Big Beautiful Bill, right? There was a lot of good aspects to the Big Beautiful Bill, but giving a 10-year unfettered access to AI architecture into the Department of Commerce, not a good thing. Okay, working with Palantir to create a private public database, not a good thing. Okay, there's a lot of glaring problems with some of this legislation that's being pushed by the Trump administration. However, I'm still not opposed to this regenerative pilot program because it is voluntary, but I think if RFK Jr. really wants to make America healthy again, you got to cut out these pesticides, you got to cut out these forever chemicals, you got to cut out atrazine. These are one of the big problems in big agriculture, is partnering and working with these chemicals that go on our food that then prevent long-term problems in our system, right? Oh, okay. Got it. You're good. All right. So, yes, it looks right here. This is kind of the glaring problem, right? These are the gaps that they're missing, okay? The fact that the Trump DOJ sides with Roundup manufacturers. Excuse me. Try that again. Trump DOJ sides with Roundup manufacturer over cancer victims in a Supreme Court case. An attorney at Food and Water Watch said the DOJ sent a clear message to sick Americans harmed by toxic pesticides. Trump has Bayer's back, not theirs. And Bayer Bayer was just recently bought by Monsanto not long ago. So the fact, let's keep reading, okay? The Trump administration is pushing for the U.S. Supreme Court to shield the manufacturers of Roundup from thousands of state lawsuits alleging that its widely used herbicide product causes cancer. On Monday, U.S. Solicitor General recommended that the High Court agree to hear challenges to a Missouri jury's verdict in 2023 that awarded $1.25 million to a man named John Durnall who claimed that the product caused him to develop non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Bayer, the agribusiness giant that purchased the manufacturer of Roundup, the agribusiness giant Monsanto in 2018, immediately challenged the verdict. Okay? So hold on. Is Bayer... If I understand this right, Monsanto owns Bayer that owns Roundup. Am I understanding that right? In 2015, the World Health Organization International Agency for Research on Cancer classified glyphosate, an active ingredient in Roundup, as a probable carcinogenic to humans based on limited evidence. That evidence became less limited in 2019 when a prominent metadata analysis by Team Environmental Health researchers found that people exposed to glyphosate at the highest levels had a 41% higher risk of developing non-Hodgkin lymphoma than those who weren't. So I bring up this article because Bayer and these pesticides and these forever chemicals are still being allowed usage in this regenerative agriculture pilot program, which is totally antithetical to what regenerative agriculture should be. Exactly. Roundup is basically diluted Agent Orange. 100% agree. I also have this article from the Center for Biological Diversity from November 20th, 2025. Trump EPA approves its second forever chemical pesticide in 2 weeks. The approval ignores health risks to children and extreme toxicity to bees. The Environmental Protection Agency today approved the highly persistent pesticide isociclorazam. Why do they have to have such difficult words? For golf courses, lawns, and food crops such as oranges, tomatoes, almonds, peas, and oats. This pesticide is a forever chemical, one of the groups called PFAs, or perfluoroalkyls and polyfluoroalkyl substances. PFAs. Okay? Y'all know what PFAs are, right? How do I say that? Isociclozaram. Isociclozaram. Sure. Sorry, I'm getting hung up on that word, but isociclozaram. Okay. The EPA agency today approved the highly persistent pesticide isoclozaram for golf courses, lawns, and food crops such as oranges, tomatoes, almonds, peas, and oats. The pesticide is a forever chemical, one of the groups called PFAs, or perfluoroalkyls and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Today's announcement marks the second approval of the PFA pesticides since Trump took office, with the first approval coming out just 2 weeks before. The administration plans to approve 3 more PFA pesticides in the coming years. How are we supposed to have regenerative agriculture if we're allowing these PFAs and these forever chemicals on our food and on our crops? Not a good thing, folks. It's not a good thing. Not a good look, Trump. I don't know where you're going with this, but putting forever chemicals on our food and in our water supply it's not good. I know they've said a lot of things about them, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is not a good idea, Trump. To approve more PFA pesticides amid the growing awareness of the serious long-term dangers from these forever chemicals is absurdly short-sighted, said Nathan Donnelly, Environmental Health Science Director at the Center for Biological Diversity. The undeniable reality is that the Trump administration is knowingly putting the nation's children at greater risk of developing serious reproductive and liver harms for generations to come. Isocloceram is classified as a moderately persistent to persistent and is known to transform into 40 smaller PFA chemicals, some of which are much more highly persistent. This isn't a good look, folks. Insects are a key component, and yeah, it goes further down here talking about the impacts of pollinators and bees. We tend to beehive out here. We do our best. My father and I, we always get bees, and we always try to round up some we try to get flowers involved. We try to get honey, but having pollinators is crucial to the ecosystem. It's crucial to the food chain. Having proper pollinators is crucial. Let's read further. For all the rhetoric about caring about children's health and well-being, the administration is quick to throw them under the bus whenever it suits their polluting benefactor, said Donnelly. Instead of erring on the side of safety, we get a quick, reckless approval of a new forever chemical without any real thought given to its serious harms. Isocloceram is also highly toxic to bees and other pollinators, with EPA finding that vital pollinators could be exposed to 15... Wow. Isocloceram is highly toxic to bees and other pollinators, with the EPA finding that vital pollinators could be exposed to 1,500 times the lethal level of the pesticide just by collecting nectar and pollen near the treated fields. 1 out of every 3 bites of food we eat, and nearly all nutrient-dense food, like fruits and vegetables, come from plants that need to be pollinated by bees and other pollinating animals. In 2024, a report from researchers at the Center of Biological Diversity Environmental Working Group and Public for Employees of Environmental Responsibility found that forever chemicals are increasingly being added to the U.S. pesticide products, contaminating waterways and exposing potential threats to human health. Okay? Folks, I will definitely share this. I'm going to share this link, make a post. I'm going to share both of these links, and I'm going to get this on my X page because there's obviously a lot to be had here. But point being, in regards to this very, very interesting and very important, this is a very important article. This is a very important topic if we're going to be talking about the sustainable long-term self-sustaining efforts of the American agricultural industry. If we want to focus on America first, if we want to focus on American health, if we want to focus on the future of our children, we've got to focus on our food supply. And regenerative agriculture, done the right way, is a huge step forward in that. However, allowing forever chemicals and pesticides and chemicals that are being thrown onto our food and destroying the pollinators and adding PFAs into not only the food but into the water supply as well. Working with companies like Bayer and Monsanto. This is not a good look. This is not a path forward. This is not making America healthy again. And it's funny because Susie Wiles, if you guys checked out my video of Susie Wiles is Trump's chief of staff. And Susie Wiles was a huge big pharma lobbyist, and one of the companies that she lobbied for a long time was Monsanto, was Bayer, was some of these other pharmaceutical companies. And obviously Monsanto is geared more towards agriculture. However, it all plays the same game, folks. Big pharma, big ag, they're all part of the same group. And if Susie Wiles is telling Trump another thing or making another decision or talking with RFK Jr., trying to lobby in certain ways to make sure that these companies still get their end of the bargain, still get their chemicals on our food, that is not a win. That is not making America healthy again. I'll tell you what. So keep an eye out for this shit. Yeah. A lot of stuff to get into with that, folks. But smash that like button if you enjoy the breakdowns I do here. If you enjoy Break the Chains Media, let your friends know about this, because I try to make sure national issues get focused back on home, back on the real aspects and how we can affect our lives in the long term, in the long run. How do we take this information and apply it to our lives and the daily lives here in Colorado and in our own home, right? That is the goal. That is what we try to do here. But rounding out, we are landing the plane here, folks. We're running a little long, but I don't, I say that every live stream. I don't really give a shit. Here we go. We are wrapping up. We are going into this, and I'm gonna start by talking about this post. Okay. Start by talking about this post. Okay. It got a lot of views. It got a lot of shares. It got a lot of likes. Okay. But this is the premise to what I'm going to be diving into as far as the declining enrollment rate here in Colorado school systems. Okay. There's obviously multiple reasons. Okay. Colorado. Are we running? Are we rolling? Great. Colorado, a state that codified full-term abortion into their constitution, is shocked when there are no more children being registered in the school system. Who'd have thought, right? Like these jokes write themselves. These liberals write this stuff themselves. I can't even make this stuff up. And I know everyone's going to say, well, abortion has nothing to do with school enrollment. I know that, folks. I know that. And I got a lot of fucking retards in the chat, in the comments down here, saying that, oh, that's not, that you're talking about two different things. You're just rage baiting. I'm saying this, folks. And I've said, right, I said it down here. Yeah. I said there are multiple reasons why the school enrollment rates are so low. It says a lot about how the state is run, right? And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that the Colorado state legislator mismanages and mislegislates and pushes this progressive leftist agenda onto the people of Colorado while failing to address the key concerns of Colorado residents. Colorado residents want a safe place and a safe avenue and a safe future for their children. They want to make sure their children get everything they need in a school system. And if the school system in Colorado is not being managed properly, if the school legislative bodies are not putting the children first, even though they might claim they are, even though the Jeffco schools, even though statewide school systems might claim that they're putting children first, we are seeing declining education rates, declining. We're seeing decline. Wow. We're seeing declining education rates. We're seeing declining test scores. We're seeing more failed practices and more lackadaisical application to how these kids being taught in schools, right? And I bring up the abortion angle because I'm basically saying that isn't it ironic that a state that wants to kill kids and lower children population in their state with full-term 40-week unfettered abortion is now seeing a declining rate in their school enrollment? It's probably because there's not enough kids in the state to fill the quotas, to fill the classrooms. Who'd have thought, right? That's where I'm going with this, right? So with that being said, yeah, this got like 500 likes. It's got like 5,000 views. Pretty good post. Wasn't expecting it to, but hey, it did. Awesome. Love it. And then, yeah, and this kind of ties it in, right? Hey, we'll see you later, Mike. Appreciate you jumping in. Thanks, brother. Thanks for everything. Yeah, we'll talk further about that. We will talk more about regenerative farming when you can next. Heading back to LOTR. Like, are you watching Lord of the Rings, man? You're watching Lord of the Rings? Jealous. It's either Lord of the Rings or Liberty on the Rocks. One of the two. But awesome. Awesome, dude. Thank you. In support of my previous post, when a state institutes progressive policies, indoctrination, and codifies anti-family, state-funded abortion, this is the result you get. The people of Colorado are fed up with progressivism. Now we're going to the article. Exhibit A. Okay? Exhibit A. More than 100 school districts in Colorado have declining enrollment. State funding cuts could come next. From the Colorado Sun. Okay? This was written about a year ago. However, still a fucking applies. It still applies, okay? More than 100 Colorado school districts have declining enrollment. State funding cuts could come next. Total state enrollment also continues to fall, continuing a downward spiral from recent years. It's almost like it's been consistent. It's almost like it's been an ongoing problem here in Colorado. Post-COVID, so many people post-COVID saw what was really going on in the school districts across the country. Everyone got a glimpse into the world of how their children were being taught and how their children were being educated in these school districts. So I don't blame parents for pulling kids out of public schooling. Y'all should be homeschooling if you can anyways. If you have the means to homeschool, that is the solution forward. But if you can't, you make sure you do everything and anything you can to make sure that your children get properly educated, to make sure they critically think, to make sure they expand their mind, maybe read some books for fuck's sake. I feel like my son, I ask him all the time. I mean, he's almost in high school, and I'm asking him, like, do you have book reports? Do you have reading assignments? Do you have what kind of homework? What kind of homework he has? They don't give homework to middle schoolers. It blows my mind, the level of disconnect and the level of everyone gets a gold star. Everyone gets a pat on the back and a little sippy cup full of Kool-Aid to get through school. And it's all about coddling, and it's all about emotions, all about this bullshit. Like, go back to the days of hardcore, real fundamental learning. I'd rather see a teacher with a ruler out smacking kids on the hand for pulling out their phones, for fuck's sake. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever happened to that type of education system? Might be a little harsh, but see, this is what happened. The problem is, and this all ties back into, and I can't stress it enough, I always bring it up every time, this ties back into the Gang of Fours takeover of Colorado. They co-opted the teachers' unions back in the early aughts, and they implemented their progressive policies, and they slid this teachers' union further to the left. Not that the teachers' unions were ever like centrist or ever conservative leaning. Most teachers' unions, hell, most unions as a whole are leftist ideologues anyways. However, when you get leftist ideologues, teachers' unions instituting an education standard, and you get school boards with blue-haired, nose-ringed leftists educating and legislating and proposing how they teach these students, it's no wonder that we see a declining enrollment rate in the state of Colorado's school enrollment, right? Colorado's streak of declining enrollment in public schools has continued this school year, with the state seeing a razor-thin dip in the number of students attending preschool through high school, a 0.1% drop compared with the 2023-24 school year. The data released Wednesday by the Colorado Department of Education shows that declining student counts have become a sweeping trend across Colorado districts. 110 districts and one board of cooperative educational services, well over half the state's 178 districts, are serving fewer students this school year than last year. That's slightly down from 113 districts that reported fewer students than last year. Those districts include urban, suburban, and rural parts of the state, including Buena Vista School District, Adams 12, Five Star Schools, and Jeffco Public Schools. Okay? We see a widespread trend across the state that there is a declining enrollment rate for these school districts across the state. If it's in brown, it's going down. Okay? If it's in brown, it's going down. And that is a majority of the school districts here. And it's not looking good, folks. Excuse me. Maybe it is looking good. It's not looking good for the school districts, but maybe it is looking good for the prospects of our future. If we're actually educating our younger generation in intelligent and critically thinking ways, this might be the turnaround we need, right? This might be the turnaround we need. I think it will be really challenging for districts to grapple with the potential loss of funding. Ooh, we're talking about losing funding now. Losing funding, you don't say. It's almost like the state of Colorado doesn't know how to manage It's almost like the state of Colorado doesn't know how to manage its own budget. Interesting. Feel like I've talked about that before once or twice on this live stream. For those 111 districts, state funding cuts could be on the horizon should legislator embrace Governor Jared Polis's latest budget proposal. I think it will be really challenging for districts to grapple with the potential loss of funding. Colorado Education Commissioner Susana Cordova said during the news conference on Wednesday. And I think our state has faced a real complexity on how we balance the budget while still continuing to invest in the programs that we think are most important. K through 12 is such a large part of the budget. I think it's really challenging. I think we're going to have a hard choice to make at the state. I mean, what else do I have to say? The fact that Colorado State does not know how to manage its money, and it's running it in the state into the ground by choosing pet projects and progressive policies and energy reform and electrification of power grids and raising taxes and fees while still somehow we're in a budget deficit. I don't know how this works, folks, but it does make sense to me if the people in charge in Colorado are trying to only line their own pockets. That's the only thing I can see. Only thing I can see. Much tighter budgets could be ahead for districts with shrinking enrollments. Colorado school districts with declining enrollments could meet sizable budget cuts next year as state leaders weigh in how to count students in districts. One of the main factors is that determining how much funding districts receive. Polis has proposed increasing per pupil funding, meaning he wants to dole out more money to districts for every student they educate. That's a win for districts. Another boon for Colorado schools. Polis remains committed to phasing in the state's new school funding formula, which gives more money to schools for kids with significant needs and better funding in rural districts over the course of 6 years. That doesn't help our budget concerns. I don't know how he's going to implement a new state fund without, I mean, obviously they're raising fees, so this is how they do it, folks. This is their agenda. They want to keep pumping this, and I wanted to touch on Lindsay Datko here. I could make a whole fucking live stream on this, but rounding out the conversation about why our enrollment is down here in Colorado, why the school district's enrollment numbers are down. 33 documented sexual abuse and misconduct cases in Jefferson County public schools. A sampling of our work. Okay? This is from Jeffco Kids First. Do you wonder why? Say no more. Yep. Absolutely. Seth Sparky in the chat. Every year for decades, public schools get more money and have worse results. The only solutions they can fathom is to give them even more money. Make it make sense. Well, government-funded schooling isn't working, and the education rates are declining, and the test scores are lowering, and student participation is on the downslope. Let's give them more money. That's the solution. Let's give them more money. And the sad thing is, most of the money that they approve for school budgets and school district budgets goes to administrative staff, goes to the superintendents, goes to people sitting in office chairs and office desks, bitching and moaning and sending emails back and forth to each other about how they can screw up the Jeffco school districts and the state school districts even more. That's where the money goes. When they fund this money, it doesn't go to the kids. It goes through administrative fees. It's all horse shit. 33 recent documented sexual abuse and misconduct cases in Jefferson County schools of Colorado. A sampling of our work product. This is from Jeffco Kids First. An elementary PE teacher. Allegations of child photos and exploitation originating in Ohio created a website for such images. Disgusting. Previously resided at the same area as David Weiss, who was under similar criminal investigation. I mean, this is disgusting. 33. We have 33 different accounts. Principals, teachers, middle school teacher, student resource officer, okay? Social workers. All of these have lawsuits against them for child exploitation and that type of sexual deviancy in Jefferson County School District. And that's just a small slice of the kind of vile people that are employed and instituted through public school districts. And you'll wonder why Colorado school districts have declining enrollment. Well, wonder no more, because you've got a litany of evidence against government-funded public education. It does not produce results. Jimmy Carter and his whole Department of Education push back in the 70s completely shit the bed on everything. They've extracted more and more money from the taxpayers to get less and less and lower results in the education system. But this is what they want, right? They want a dumb, sheep-like society. They want a complete culture that is just above NPC level education. Like they want useless idiots. They want to make sure that people are not critically thinking. They are designed. This is all by design, a generational design and a generational push to push. It's a generational push to make it's. I stumble over my words sometimes. You know this if you're in the live stream, if you've seen it before. It's the dumbing down of society. This is the dumbing down of society. This has been their agenda since the inception of the Department of Education. They want to make sure that our youth and our younger generations do not critically think, do not think for themselves, do not think outside of the box, are not entrepreneurs. They expect and they want more and more from the government system. So if you institute a dumbing down of society within the school public system, you're gonna get a bunch of stupid idiots growing up into adults who then, who then vote in socialism, who then vote in for more government, who then vote in for more policies to expand government control over their lives because they don't know any better, because they can't critically think. It's all part of the big brain agenda. This is their whole agenda. I could go on. But I think we are going to be wrapping it up there, folks. Like I said, appreciate everyone in the chat. Appreciate everyone in the live stream. Thank you so much for being here on Break the Chains Media's We Are Change Wednesdays, because that is what we do, folks. We got to be a part of this future. We've got to be the change we wish to see in the world. And I was going to get into some more of the doomer gloomer stuff, but I think I'm on I'm feeling a little bit better now. But there's a lot going on in the world, right? And I kind of touched on it. I kind of dabbled onto it when we're talking about Candace Owens. We're talking about the infighting. We're talking about surface level. Every morning you wake up and you hear some other doom and gloom scenario, doom and gloom report, and it just bogs you down. It weighs you down, and you feel like you got no place to go. You feel like you got nothing to fight for, nothing to speak up against, nothing's looking good, right? I don't want to live in a black pill society. I don't want to feel black pilled, but sometimes you wake up and it feels pretty fucking bleak. Not gonna lie. However, when I sit here and I bring up news and I have these conversations and I'm up and at it and I'm doing these things, it brings me hope. It brings me prosperity. It makes me understand that we are not alone. We are here together. We are active in our communities. We are actively doing things. And I think the more we bring light to the good in the world, and the more we stop this simpleton, this surface level agenda of pointing fingers and calling blame and talking about conspiracy theories and outlandish claims. I mean, like, folks, I could have been coming out here week over week talking about Epstein files and talking about Charlie Kirk and talking about, you know, or I could have been just completely, you know, MAGA brained and just completely, you know, circle jerking and touting the Trump administration and all the good deeds they've done, folks. I think we can be honest with ourselves. I've criticized Trump many a times, and I'm not sitting here being a flag-toting MAGA fan, because you have to think critically. You have to think about the long game, right? What is the long game? And right now, yeah, there's some pushes. There's some push on the right to move back to this Rhino, Bush, Cheney era republicanism, old guard republicanism. And meanwhile, you're seeing socialists on the left, progressive Democrats on the left, challenging old guard Democrats that have been around for 20 years. And that is inherently a good energy. When you think about it, we need young people to get active and get involved in politics to change the paradigm. And if we're not getting active people involved on the right, on the liberty-minded, on the small government side of the conversation, if we're not doing that, then the progressives are going to win regardless, because they're putting in the work, folks. The progressive socialists are putting in the work, and they're going to challenge these old guard Democrats, these Chuck Schumers, these Hickenloopers, these Pelosi's, and you name it, they're on their way out. And the more we fail to recognize that the left is continuing their march. The left has an agenda. The left has a plan. And they are marching forward whether we are doing the same thing or not. We being the conservatives, we being the Constitution, the America first, America only, limited government, maximum liberty. We need to make sure that we hold true. We defend the Bill of Rights. We defend free speech. We defend the Second Amendment. We defend family values. We stop this transing of children. We stop insane anti-abortion laws. Government, state taxpayer abortion in Colorado is right now. Like, why is this even, how did this even get to this level, right? Folks, we can get into all that down the road, but folks, what we have to do right now, on the right, anyone to the right of fucking Mao Zedong, anyone to the right of Karl Marx, I mean, maybe not, Karl Marx is pretty fucking extreme, but you know what I'm saying, folks? We need to have this conversation. We need to have these platforms. We need to galvanize ideas. We need to institutionalize better conversations moving forward, captivating the youth, captivating young people into politics to make sure that they know that they have a voice. And it's not just this old guard rhino Republicans that are going to keep making these dumbass decisions, because I'm sick and tired of them too. I want to see real fundamental change in our government institutions. And we got less than 5 years, folks. I'm telling you right now, midterms, 2026 midterms is a turning point. If we don't get at least some players on the board in the midterms, and we don't actually stand our ground in the general in 2028, folks, it's going to be a real tough time after that. But that's why we have to start now. That's why we have to start doing these things now. So with that being said, folks, I appreciate everyone in the live stream. I appreciate everyone in the chat. Smash the thumbs up button. Smash the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you do all the things, because that is how we get this message out to the public. What I am going to do, though, is I am going to be rating the one and only Beanie Compound, because that is what I feel like doing right now, and that is what I'm going to do. Why is it doing this? I don't know why that did that, but all right. Let's go. Let's try that again, I guess. Yes, great, wonderful, fantastic. Here we are. We are crushing it. But that being said, folks, I do appreciate everyone here, and like I can't stress it enough. Cannot stress it enough. AID. That's how you spell that word. All right. Well, with that being said, Last but not least, make sure you check out Realm Walker Hot Sauce. If you want a bottle for Christmas, it is on the way. I will be bottling them next week. Realm Walker Hot Sauce on Instagram, or reach out to me at Break the Chains M for your bottle of Realm Walker Hot Sauce to support the channel and support the work I do and get a great Christmas gift for your friends and family. And you can also check out the Chainsaw Caucus. The tiny link is in the pinned description of this live stream. So with that being said, folks, I appreciate everyone here, and we will see you next time on Break the Chains Media. And I love you. I appreciate you. And as always, fight for freedom and never give